Welcome. I'm Julia Bunn. I'm the native plant sale coordinator for the EEA Evanston Environmental Association. And we love this is our sixth annual Bird Buzz native plant sale, which was very generously assisted in starting by NHE's Natural Habitat Evanston's Leslie Shadd. And then we've been carrying on and expanding and improving things as things go. Uh, Today's topic is our EEA New Plants for Your City Savanna, choosing natives for different parts of your garden. And I figured the theme here would be let's see what we got. All right. So why think like a savanna? Why think savannas? Because we actually live in savanna-like conditions in most suburban areas of our region. This ecotype is historically found here, and our home environments can mimic these conditions naturally. This is a really cool map. My cursor, I would be guiding you, but it's not assisting me tonight. You can see up by Illinois, we are soundly in the zone of the Midwestern oak savanna. The oak savanna situation is switching, as we all know, but other trees can serve not as powerful a point as a keystone species as the oaks, but a lot of other tree species provide the shade and sun conditions that give us that savanna-like condition. So there are four elements, major elements of the savannas: trees, water affected by soil slope and type of soil. Then there's the sun, and then there's the plants and adaptive and changing spaces between light conditions. And that's really one of the lovely things about plants is you can see here, this would be in a setting that would be like a savanna here on the right. We've got a little rain garden with some rosy sedges in there and some swamp milkweed, and the background is a bottle brush buckeye. And then we're here on the water's edge by the Chicago River. The trees are usually a ratio of trees to an area. Older suburban towns are perfect places to mimic this. The typical number of trees is about 2.5 trees per lot, or 3.5 trees per lot is about what would be like a typical savanna, but you can have less, less trees or more trees, and then you just adapt for them as if you were a plant. You have more shade, you put more shade plants in. You have more sun, you put more sun plants in. One parkway tree is usually a part of that, but it depends on where you live. Okay, water. As some people know about me, I feel is a very important part of how we can assist in making our area's rainwater stormwater system have less stress. We have opportunity when we have a downspout or we have non-filtrating areas like sidewalks or patios and car driveways. And what we want to try and do is keep as much of that water on our site to help the groundwater and also to continue to put less into the stormwater system. And our plants are going to do a great job of helping us do the job. So we want to slow the water down by using rock and moving it in a serpentine type line, because water tends to move in a spiral, which is very interesting. Spread it out so that it goes over a larger surface and can settle into the ground. We want to percolate it then and allow the water to be absorbed into the local water table. We want to concentrate the plantings for roots to create a sponge-like area. Calyxes or sedges, as we speak about them, um, are a very good plant to create that, as are grasses. And then we concentrate plantings for roots to create that sponge-like area. And then trees and shrubs are also a vital part of the configurations. Um, and if you look at these drawings, I mean these examples here on the left, you can see how much water was actually being placed into this garden off of a large building, and then the resulting rain gardens that actually manage that water. You never see standing water on this property anymore. Then sun, you want to learn how to observe. There's a very unique relationship of light from all directions. And so you always want to locate where you are. So you're going south, looking towards the lake. East is then going, no, sorry, east is towards the lake, south is to the southwest going out, and then north behind this building. So this is actually my home, which I've been able to observe and add to over time. And you can see that my yard is where the Part Sun sign is about. That's where my yard is. This big area of no grass is where an elm tree was when I first made the garden. So the thing that's important to keep in consideration about that is initially my garden had a lot more shade most of the day, and I had more of a part shade, part sun yard. After the tree went down, we had more of a part sun bed. So it really changed the bed. But what was really neat about that is we recognized over time that the plants, there were only two plants that were predominantly wanting the part shade. Part sun to sun is having 4 to 6 hours plus of direct sun per day, with afternoon sun being a part of that. Afternoon sun has a lot more heat. There's just it's a lot more um, radiation. The part shade then is usually the morning sun, and mostly before midday. The plants from then if you take these plants, building a new kind of savanna is what we want to try and do. Okay, here's an example of um, the plant that this was the small rain garden off my one downspout that I planted initially. And these are all plants that we have in our plant sale that can go into your gardens as well. And this was initially more of a part shade with a little part sun, and it went to sunnier in the front of the bed and kept more of the part sun in the back of the bed, and shade actually even at the near the end of the summer because of the other trees. But Queen of the Prairie was a good one. You can see where the arrow is pointing up to the bloom of that plant. It liked it when it was shadier. When it's still surviving in the bed, but it doesn't bloom anymore because I think it's a little too hot. And I want to move the plant this year to another part of the garden. Swamp milkweed stayed happy as a clam there. The common mountain mint, which you can see with the white little lacy bloom. I forgot to put the arrow in there. It's between where the swamp milkweed is and the grass. So that's where it is. And I'll show you a more mature shot of the stand in 1 second. Then we have a lead plant that's hiding out in there, but it's growing slowly. When it got more sun, it started to finally really um, uh, set its roots, and it's now becoming a more sizable shrub. The James sedge, which is the smaller sedge here on the edge, it definitely likes it shadier. And so we ended up kind of growing in some things around it and moving it to shadier spots. And then little blue stem was very happy either way, so, as far as that garden went. The next thing we did is yeah, we got here's a view of that same garden looking from the house back out to the street. And so you can see there's the more mature mountain mint stand that's now about 3 years later. And we have the black Hawaii which is also for sale in the plant sale. I think, have we got that this year? Maybe we don't. Let's see. But anyways, I've got my things. Yeah, no, we're not growing that this year. Sorry. But we do have the Hyperchium. I mean, we have the St. John's wort, which there's another example of it over planted on this side of the bed, in addition to the one on the right-hand side that you see pointer. There's the Eastern bee balm. It's very happy in this situation because it gets a little bit of shade, but not too much, and it is just very pleased to be there. The rain garden itself is more on the left-hand side of the sidewalk as you look at it. And again, there's the Queen of the Prairie coming up, but she's not blooming so much anymore. And then my favorite, which you'll see repeatedly in a lot of different beds, is the Jacob's Ladder. I feel like that's sort of a standard good filler for all different situations. It doesn't like full sun though, but it can take that end of the day sun when there's a little bit of shade that comes in to protect it. Yeah, so here's a different time of the year with that same bed. You can see there's the St. John's wort. Up along the base of the house to the right, we have the American currant, which I love as a standard sort of base of the building shrub. And also it makes nice bigger stands, or you can prune it and keep it the size you want. It's a great flexible plant, and it actually I've been enjoying the black currants now that it's more mature gardens. The flowers are also very lovely in spring. You can see on the far right the little bell-shaped flowers. It's a great earlier spring kind of plant. And then um, what I would probably add to this garden this year, because it can take a little bit of water, the mesic situation where water comes in for a small period of time and then it's gone. And it doesn't need to have the water, but it can appreciate it when it's there. And the bottle brush gentian, I mean the bottle gentian is new this year, the the cream one, because they didn't have any of the blue available this year. So it's a fun new plant to try. So that's one of our newbies. Here's just an idea of when you're planting in an existing situation and you want to take strongly into consideration the health of the existing trees, especially with this situation. Um, you can see the owner had a very big flooding problem in their backyard. And so what we did is we slowed the water down and we spread it out and put gardens all the way down the slope, but we stayed as far away from the harming the roots of this mature American elm, and it really did the job. The clients are very happy. There's a rain garden then there at the base. We planted that all up, and it's now full. And they've never had a flooding problem like that since we set the situation up. So that was a really lovely way to create that savanna feeling and help manage the water. All right, so here's the what we have for sale in the sunny, dry sort of category of plants. It's good to note the Rusty Patched Bumble Bee host plants are indicated on the site, and you can see that with the RPBB. And at the very end, I'm going to give you a little update on the effectiveness of what we've been doing in correlation with all the other wonderful people in Evanston who are working on this project. So uh, all of these plants are available this year, and you can buy them online. I think, was it starting today, Ashley? Yeah. And
That's starting today.
yeah, and I've been rabbit caging my prairie clover, and it's really coming in nicely now. It has a nice, deeply rooted plant. The um, the purple pale cone flower uh, is has been quite lovely in one of my people's front yards in their parkway. We also, although it is does get kind of tall,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you mean by rabbit caging?
Oh, rabbit caging is you want to protect the
Got
plants
it.
being eaten by rabbits,
Yes.
and there's all kinds of different ways you can do rabbit cages. I should have had a little slide about that.
Mhm. Oh, I have lots of funny
Yeah.
wire cages all over everything.
Yeah, cool.
Got it.
Well, what I'll do is I'm going to go through real quick here all the slides, and then we're going to keep your questions because we're going to have 15 minutes for them, okay? So I really want to I want to be able to very specifically address people's questions. So let's then this is the multi-purpose ones, and these guys can take the mesic situations more than some of the other ones. These are actually plants that were adapted in that situation, especially. And our new ones this year are a really neat heath aster, which grows low. And the fun thing about asters, if you want to keep it like at 1.5 feet tall, at Fourth of July, you can prune it back like by a third, and it still is going to have as much flower, and it makes a really nice border plant. So the heath aster is a new bonus plant that we have this season that can go on the edges of beds, or if you have a low profile sort of sedge meadow or a grassy meadow with Diopterus, you'll see an example the prairie dropseed. That would be a fun one to put in. The Selene Regia, I mean the Selene stellata, the starry campion, is a personal fave of mine, and I really love that plant. It's really so pretty, and it's got its advantages. We'll be seeing in another slide. And then we've got wild lupine super bonus that's available now. And I highly recommend trying that out this year if you have a chance. Then here are our woodland flowers for semi-shade and shade gardens. And the new one here is the Spring Beauty, which will naturalize if it's in a happy place. They do like being below trees, around the tree roots a little bit and stuff. Uh, as long as it's not like a really like a Norway maple, it would not do well around. But I think a red maple would be fine. So these are all the lower growing ground cover plants. What would truly, yeah, fill things in. And we have a special note here that with James Net sedge, that's not a really good one for replacing grass, but you could because it really is probably stays the smallest of all the sedges we have right now. It doesn't get more than like 8 inches to 12 inches high. Um, yeah, probably closer to eight. And then the other one is the oak sedge, which is always a great plant because it can take water, it can take shade, it can yeah, it's a wonderful plant to use to replace grass. So if you want to do that, if you purchase 16 for a 5 foot by 5 foot area, you can have like a grassy area. I do recommend, however, integrating us forbs in having flowering plants in your little meadow rather than having it just be a monoculture because you lose opportunities to really serve nature um, when you do it too much all of one. Okay, next we have the low growing and spring ephemerals. Oh, that was, how did that other one? I'm sorry about that. The spring beauty was supposed to be on that other page, but it's not so much of a ground cover. It will populate, but yeah, it, before it dies back, it can cover the ground considerably, but that's with the naturalism. Okay, then we have these other wonderful plants. One of my personal favorites is the purple love grass. It likes sandier soils. There's a few of them. The lupine too does like sandier soils. A great ground cover is the wild strawberry. And new for this year is the white tinged sedge, which likes drier. It can go all the way down to shade up to part sun. It doesn't mind quite a bit of sun. And it does like it dry, though. This is not one of those sedges you want to put in a rain garden. But on the other hand, you have the prairie dropseed, which is another grass that's a little more spreading. And you're going to see there's other ways we can interplant with that one. And then one of my personal faves is the prairie alum. The Heuchera richardsonii is really good for the small-tongued bees. And I call it sort of the petticoat of the garden. It does a really nice filler job. If you have some spots that you just want to make sure you have everything, the ground really covered and filling in, that's a great plant to achieve that goal. And then this year, what we have new is the lead plant we've had for sale before, but now we have them available in a #1 gallon container, which starting with a little more mature version of the lead plant is going to really help us all to be more successful in what we're trying to achieve in building up these new areas for wildlife. So anyways, here are some other feature plants just to pay attention to. We've got that spring beauty. We've got the Dutchman's breeches is back again. I think we didn't have it last year, but it's back this year. That's also a lovely plant for the more wooded areas of your garden or more of a part shade. And then the shooting star is more flexible. It can go rain garden or a little bit drier, and it can also be in part sun. It doesn't mind a little bit more sun than the other ones, but it does prefer shade. I like the part shade. Um, Here's like an example of a sedge meadow sort of planting situation where you plant between the different sedges. In this case, the sedge that is in this photo is actually not relevant to us today, but it's an example of it could be, you could plant between things and have that sort of feeling using the white tinge sedge would look like that probably a lot more than the oak sedge. Oak sedge is a little darker and sprawls a little bit more. It's okay. And then we have the crested iris, which is a great edge of the border plant and can be on the edges of rain gardens as well, and it can take full sun. And then again, we know the story of that, but shooting star. So here's more of a sun to part sun situation. These guys are pretty much full sun in this garden, and the purple poppy mallow is really lovely the way it threads between. That's like just two plants, but the plant was very happy there. We've got the butterfly weed. We have penstemon, the calico beard tongue, and interestingly, this was an unusual season when everything was blooming at the same time that way. Oftentimes the beard tongue is gone by the time you have the butterfly weed coming in. And then the Veronicastrum too was very happy that year. Okay. In front of that border, we had just an open space that we wanted to fill. And pussy toes was an excellent plant for that job. They are good on the dry edges of beds, and they can also be on the slopes of little rain gardens. They do a nice job of holding grade. They take a little minor amount of foot traffic, but they are a host plant for the American lady butterflies, and that's always fun to watch. Spring, this late spring, early summer bloom. Actually, we're early summer more bloom with the wild indigo. That's a great plant that can be like a small shrub. You can even prune it once it has flowered, and it can form small hedges if you want a little privacy hedge, sort of in a seating area in the front of the house or something. And then we have the spikenard is a wonderful shade part sun woodland feel, and it gets quite tall for a perennial. Uh, and then it dies back during the winter. So it's a very interesting plant. It flowers nicely. It looks really pretty, like an umbrella shape in your garden. And then the berries feed the birds too, which is really great. Here we have like the late August, early September sort of a garden. Again, you can see how Jacob's ladder holds. It's a great placeholder when it isn't giving bloom or having its pinky um, seed pods in the late spring. This is kind of a fun thing that occurred in this garden is the blue lobelia created with the red lobelia, a naturally occurring magenta flower. So that was kind of an interesting thing that occurred in this garden. And then we have in the background a lot of the black-eyed Susan and witch hazel, and that's the sedge meadow at the beginning entrance to the garden. Um, This is another place to put turtle head. It likes the rain garden. It's a rain garden that we were seeing here. So you got the white turtle head, the blue lobelia, and the black-eyed Susan. And over here we have a button bush, which we also have on sale here. And that's a great pollinator magnet plant during the summer. And it has this fun kind of Sputnik flower blooms, and it's great for helping to manage water as well. And then you've got your black-eyed Susan and the swamp milkweed, and you can add blue stem in there for texture. Okay, so dry shade is always an interesting problem in any garden. And the white tinged sedge is really good for that. You can see the white tinged sedge is offset by by these arborvitae too, and it doesn't mind being around the arborvitaes. So it's kind of a good place to place them. And then you've got the lupines like sandier soils, as you can see here, or they can they can take a loamier clay that's not been really disturbed. And then the big leaf aster is an excellent ground cover. If you want a shade ground cover, they get about a foot and a half, 2 feet high. Again, if you wanted to do that pruning thing earlier on, you could and keep them even smaller. But it's just a good, easy to grow plant. It does not like full sun, but it'll take the part sun, and it likes the dry garden beds too. And then here's our new Celine Regia. I mean the Celine stellata, the starry campion. And what's really lovely about this plant is it has this the four formed leaves on the stem, and it has these frilly, fringy flower heads. And it's the real bonus of the white flowering plants is that they're often important pollinators for moths. And it's really good too to keep in mind when you're building these gardens that they be really varied so that your biodiversity and your service, you're providing ecological function for the nature that we're trying to support. So yeah, it's that. Then here's just another example of my backyard. I planted a tree in the middle of my rain garden in the back, and it's a blue beech, which we don't sell, but I would gladly bring them in if people wanted them. We also have in this garden, from another point of view, you'll be able to see the cornice, the red stem dogwood. Nodding onion goes well in this garden. We didn't have blue star available this year, but uh, it goes well in this garden. But you can see in the very front of the bed, the little purple flower, that's skullcap. It's one of my personal faves. It fills in really nicely and doesn't outcompete other plants. So it just does this great kind of job of filling in the understory and then bringing, oh boy, the hummingbirds love that plant. They are just nectaring like crazy from that thing when they're all in bloom. Um, and also, it's always good to plant like three plants or so, and unless the plant tends to get bigger, like the Monarda, um, so that you get about 3 square feet of pollinator area. That really makes the pollinators happy because they can stick with one variety of nectar that they're getting. Let's see, and then we also have Golden Alexandra in this, and that's going to be in the next slide point of view. So this is the plant, the tree maturing over time. And again, you've got those shade conditions are changing, but the plants are maintaining and staying in good shape. The one plant I did have to move, which we're not selling this year, but was the iris, the blue flag
So the
iris.
reason why I wanted this was they're having a plant sale, and this is actually previewing their plant sale.
Yeah.
Um, and the plant sale is called the Bird Buzz Plant Sale. So that's where the bird came from.
Yeah, well, it's to serve the birds too. Yeah. So we're almost through the slides here. This is the Golden Alexander, which is also for sale in the Columbine. And here's the other new plant that we have, which is uh, the the aster, which would grow really nicely in within this prairie drop seed kind of setting if you wanted. And then this is a more mature lead plant. So it's like really beautiful and it's interplanted here with the drop seed as well. So anyways, you could join us and be a volunteer. You can see we got a request from everybody after we started up after the second year. Could you please pre-sort orders so that all that people have to do is come pick up the orders? So we have to have a nice crew to get those plants all sorted out so that people just swoop down, get their orders, and they're out of there. So please feel free to put in the chat your name and email, and we'd be glad to add you to our list. We've got a great crew of people volunteering, and it really makes a huge difference because we're working together and we're building community. We enjoy each other. Um, and we are making an impact as a community, which is going to be really cool. You know all of these bird buzz plant sale plants that have a black have a little black star by them. Oh, well, we had these in the past, but we didn't. We some of these we don't have anymore. But we can also take orders for next year if you have a plant you'd like to see more in there. The lupine is going to be serving the rusty patch as well. Way cool. Um, and then this is the study that is going to be that has shown that what Evanston's community has done is actually made a bit of a difference for the Rusty Patched Bumble Bee. And Natural Habitat Evanston will be hosting a talk on that, and along with Holly Greenberg and the the stuff with the birds. So yeah, and then just to know that we have the Wild and Scenic Film Festival on for the EEA. And if you have any questions, here's we'll have this as the wrap up screen. That's the fall blooming witch hazel, which we also have for sale. So um, uh, if there are any questions, let's ask them. I think we've covered things. I can go back and pull up any slides if you're interested, and I'm glad to be of assistance in helping with looking at our plant sale. Oh, by the way, we are recording, so if you don't want to be recorded, just keep that in mind.
Would you mind going back one slide to the film festival just for a second?
Sorry. Oh my, what happened? Hello, everybody. Let's do a screen share again. And we're back in. Share. And okay, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Your question about the Wild and Scenic Film Fest?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I just wanted to look at it again really quickly. I'll screenshot it for myself.
Oh yeah, please. And you can just go to our website too to order tickets.
Yeah, I placed a link in the chat, so if you go in there, you can pull it up too.
Thank you.
Yeah, did anybody like make notations or notes in the questions in the chat? No.
No. Donna has volunteered for the plant sale though, so thank you, Donna.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Yay. Any other questions or slides you want to look at again? Does the idea of the Savannah appeal to you guys?
Yeah, it makes sense. I hadn't really heard much about it before.
Cool.
Hey Julia, I have one question.
Sure.
Um, so where I live, we have some pretty big trees with some pretty big roots, and I would be interested in doing plants in those areas, but um I feel like I can't dig deep enough into around the roots to put plants in there. Do you have any like advice on good
What kind of trees are they?
Well, we have right in our front yard we have like really big sycamores, which are out of place. But yeah, so they have pretty big root systems, and I would love to do,
Yeah.
something there. Right now it's just turf grass. So I don't know. I imagine maybe if you can get like the turf grass to grow there, you could get
Yeah, if the turf
something
grass is
else there.
growing, you can totally grow something there. The
Okay.
way I would handle it is I would probably smother the areas you want with using cardboard,
Yeah.
and then and wet it down. And it usually, I think within 6 weeks, the grass will be dead, if not sooner.
Okay. And
And
then
then,
it'll be more like you can handle it better that way.
yeah, I mean, that makes it really easy. You don't have to try and dig it
Right.
out. And then what you can do is you can plant, depending on your ambition or desire, you
Yeah.
can plant through that using an auger
Oh
with a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
drill. An
Yep.
auger head is so brilliant, especially when you're using the plugs.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
you bet. Any other questions? I'm glad to share. That's why I'm here.
There is a question in the chat. It says, in typical plant community maps, much of Illinois is shown as tall grass prairie. On the map you showed, it is labeled as oak savanna. What is that discrepancy?
The discrepancy is that that was pre-settlement. The slide that showed, I can go back to that too if you want. The slide that showed that. Whoa, sorry, I got a little trigger happy. Um, the slide that showed that was a human European settlement, um, the way that the world worked here. For the longest time, Native Americans would manage areas to be able to harvest the understory plants. And that was the typical distribution of the savanna at that. Oh, rats. Dang. I apologize. Oh, dang. I'm sincerely apologize, everyone. Yeah, if you look at this, this was a map that existed before the white man came through and messed with everything. That was sort of what was naturally sort of supervised by the Native Americans to have this sort of mixed, and it's usually going in correlation with rivers and how they move. Rivers moved through the middle of the country, and always prairies were interspersed between savannas too. It wasn't always just savanna or just prairie. Um, so that's what this is from the oaksavannas.org website, and the people have done a lot of research. And so does that answer your question a bit? So a lot of the prairie
Yeah,
plants, yeah,
a little bit.
a lot of the prairie plants are savanna plants too. And there are very specific plants which we haven't gone that deeply into building the oak savannas because they had more of a association with the actual oaks and the tannins when the stuff came down. But when everything would come down and compost, but basically uh, the specialty plants are very interesting to study because they are adapted to this shifting change of light that can happen when a tree goes down or something. Yeah, go ahead.
Another question is pen sedge a good substitute for lawn? This is a small
Yes.
lawn amid native shade and part sun, as well as some cottage plants like old peonies.
Yeah, that would work brilliantly. Yeah. And if you want, uh, an advantage with oak sedge is if you do have a part that you want to keep a little shorter, you can mow it like once during the summer or if you want to. But it works out really nicely. It's an awesome plant for that. Any other questions?
Um, I'm kind of curious. You said you had different ideas of things that you can do for protecting plants against rabbits. We have so many rabbits, and
Uh-huh.
they're cute, but they mow down everything, even things
Yeah.
that you think they wouldn't. Um, Other than wire little fences around everything. Do you have any other thoughts?
Well, you can do one bigger wire fence around everything.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's been very effective for quite a few of my clients. And then during the time that the plants are establishing, rabbits don't like mint and they
Yeah.
don't like alliums. So if you do some strategic planting, utilizing those plants around some of the more tender plants,
Mhm.
and you give them a year, 2 years to establish, the possibility to then take the fence away is much greater to have a good success rate with keeping the mow down from the bunnies from
Okay.
being so strong. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even among alliums, they ate all of our hostas and everything.
Yeah, they love hostas. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I think
Yeah.
one big fence might be the solution for a little while.
Yeah, and you can do it really inexpensively by getting this little wooden stakes, the 2 footers, at the hardware store, and then putting the hard core wire or whatever fencing material you like the best. Depends on how fancy you want to be.
Okay.
A couple more questions came in.
Excellent.
With the pen sedge, do they need to leave an access path for the rest of the plants? I read that they don't like being walked on.
Yes, they're not a lawn substitute in that sense of the word. Visually and effectively for being able to, like, if you have to pick your way through occasionally, you're not going to kill it, but you don't want it to be a walking path. No.
And another question was, which plants can be Chelsea chopped?
Oh, that's a good one. The Chelsea choppers. Okay, in our, let me see. If I move through here, if you look at the Sunny Monarch plants, we've got the aromatic aster. That's a brilliant one to do the Chelsea chop for, especially because after probably the second year or so, it tends to do this sort of sprawl thing in the middle, where it just like looks like it has sort of a hole. But if you do the Chelsea chop about the 4th of July, it keeps it smaller and it keeps it really tight. So it's that asters in general you can treat that way. That's another one. Another good one for that is this anise hyssop. That's the giant hyssop. That's one of the Rusty Patch faves. They really like going to that one, and I've managed that one at a shorter um, um, way by doing the Chelsea chop. Let me see. I've never tried a Chelsea chop with the black-eyed Susans, but they tend to stay bunchy anyways. Let's look at the next guys.
And Julia, can you just
Yes.
briefly tell us what is a Chelsea chop? For us?
A Chelsea chop is basically you have the plant, and let's say the plant is this big. I'm going in the circle, and what you do is 4th of July or so, you plant you chop it back by a third, so then it's about this size. And then what happens is it can grow back out and it'll bloom in its regular bloom time. You're not cheating any of the pollinators, and you're just giving a little more strength to the structure of the plant.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the I don't know if it works so much. The smooth blue aster you could do it with as well, probably. Yeah. I wouldn't do it with the serasium. The that's another one we've got. Yeah, that one tends to be a little featherier, the way that it likes to grow. But let me see what else. Yeah, and then the big leaf aster. So but that one I've never really had the experienced having to do that. And then, the wild geraniums can kind of get a little bit, they can sort of fade out during the midsummer. So you can cut them after bloom to just give them a little more strength and they won't be as floppy if you want to manage them a little bit. You can do that with the wild geraniums, just sort of shear them. I wouldn't necessarily go a third, but you can totally shape the plant and it'll kind of invigorate it for the rest of the season growth. Another great ground cover is the Virginia waterleaf. I really like that one in wet, and it definitely likes it shadier. But it's a good plant for that, and the pollinators get really happy with that in the sort of it's in that space between spring blooms and some midsummer. So it kind of fills in that hole too, along with the penstemons. Penstemons are also another really good plant for the early summer. Oh, and the prairie, who doesn't love prairie smoke? I think that's such a sweet plant, and that's such a lovely one. And very interesting the way that it behaves. Uh, Oh, the nice thing I wanted to just mention about doing the wild strawberries is it 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 can cover the ground nicely without smothering other things so much. It kind of goes between things a little bit better than a lot of other ground covers. And it also does that earlier pollination bit and has the food, which is really nice. I bet you could play too with the wild petunias. You could probably do an experiment and see if you could, if your wild petunia is getting a little too tall for your taste, you could try doing a Chelsea chop on part of the plant and see what happened with that. I don't know, because they can bloom for quite a while. And then it is very unique that our sale offers at this time of the year the shrubs and we don't have any. Let me see. Do we have any trees anymore? Not really. It's mostly shrubs. Yeah. But the winterberry is a really lovely plant. I really like putting that one in. The red berries are quite lovely. And they like it wet too. So they can take in some wetter areas along with so if you want to do your downspout, and just make a bed where there's going to be a little more water concentrated occasionally, that's a perfect plant for that situation, as well as the button bush that we were talking about, and the American currant can withstand that situation well too. The button bush, I think it should be on the sale. We should check that, Ashley. I think it should be there. But anyways, the common witch hazel, which we saw was the very end of the season bloom availability for our pollinators, which is always good. Another question?
I don't see any other questions.
Thought I heard somebody say something. Well, I hope that was helpful for you guys. Are there any things that you would want to know that you didn't get to know?
Um, I don't know.
Huh.
Julia, I was thinking about are there any like bird species that you've seen um come around more when in these like savanna-like areas that you've
Yeah,
created around your house?
yeah, this was fun. Like, because when I moved into my place, there wasn't very much going on there. One thing that came is ruby-throated hummingbird. I have like a resident female that comes back, and that's also because I have which we don't have in the sale, which I would love to have in the sale next year, is uh, the honeysuckle vine. They love that one.
Oh,
They love the honeysuckle vine. So if you want to get hummers, put in the red lobelia, the by the blue uh, that mint that I was showing you, the blue. What's the name of that one? And then yeah, skullcap, the skullcap. That's a really good one for the hummers as well. And then
oh,
I got hanging out during migration a Wilson's warbler, which I've never seen. And I know that the black haw viburnum that I have two of them in the yard now. They produce some good berries and such. And when the robins came back into town, they were happy
yeah,
with that.
awesome.
Yeah. So and then for the end of the summer, they like the choke berries.
Awesome.
That's a popular one for them. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I hope you guys want to assist in getting keeping the sales going, and the more the merrier. I'm very grateful to be a part of this community because we're really doing some things. We're having impact here, which is just makes me so happy. And it's a we thing, you know. It's and remember, white flowers are your moth pollinators. So the cream gentian, I don't know. You can look that one up. But if we can get more white flowers for the moths create probably even more caterpillars for the birds than butterflies. So that's a really good thing to recognize is that the moth relationship to the plants that we put in our gardens. And then, the end of the season, having asters in your garden is a really good thing because the pollinators need to stash up for the winter when they go to bed, or anything that has to migrate needs to have extra something to move. So the asters and the the goldenrod are very important for that. Maybe we'll get another new goldenrod next year too. If people want it, tell us what you want and we'll bring it.
And the plant sale is live at 8 o'clock, which is now. So I just sent the link through the chat. So if you want to get your plants tonight,
Start buying your
yeah,
plants, go
yeah.
for it. Yeah, good luck. And I hope we see you guys at the Wild and Scenic Film Fest. And all of this is also going to a larger mission where we're trying to grow the relationship that we have with the channels, the North Channel, especially in that we're going to be putting in a canoe launch. When that canoe launch gets put in, we will also be planting up the area around the canoe launch with native plants that are going to support a more diverse and support also what has already been started by the hardworking crews that have been doing the work in the Lat Arboretum there. So, yeah, Evanston is a wonderful place to be for this kind of work right now, and we can all keep contributing. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.